Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing Onward air tickets, Thai visa rules. As discussed in other videos, a lot going on in the Thai immigration space. We're getting ready to see the rollout, if you will, of the long-term residence visas, so-called, as we've discussed many, many times. Not really a resident visa, but kind of a long stay visa. Then we're also looking at the possibility, and it looks like it's pretty much happening, of a 45-day visa exemption stamp with the option to renew for another 45 days. We're also possibly looking at a situation where visas on arrival could go from 15 days to 30 days. So a lot going on. I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from the Pattaya Mail, that's pattayamail.com. Article is titled, Brits Say They Are Confused by Latest Thai Visa News. Quoting directly, the news that from October 1, British tourists will be visa exempt and able to obtain for free 45 days on arrival without any paperwork is causing some scratching of heads. At present, they can obtain 30 days free on arrival, but can extend at local Thai immigration offices a further 30 days, total 60 on payment of 1,900 baht or £5. The new regulations don't specify how many days can be added to the 45 for longer stayers. Well, they have discussed in other publications, this is me talking, they have discussed in other publications that, yeah, it's going to be 45 and 45. Quoting further, a further area of ambiguity is whether those arriving without a prior visa must show evidence of an air ticket to the next destination. I'll get to that in a minute. Thai immigration has an old standing rule that these tourists should show proof of their exit, although it is rarely enforced these days. However, some airlines have been known to refuse boarding to travelers without a visa or to require them to purchase a new and separate ticket out of Thailand. Reports in Thai social media suggest, quote, what's your next destination, unquote, rules have been collapsed as the pressure grows to maximize the number of visitors after the COVID pandemic. It's a classic bums on seats scenario. Yeah, interesting. Kind of well put there, too. Yeah, I do think volume of tourists is probably driving overall policy far more than notions of immigration enforcement at the moment. As noted in prior videos, especially in the lead up going into the first quarter of 2020, we noted many, many times, especially with the advent of Big Joke taking over at immigration and the crackdowns associated with that, Thai immigration took very much more of an enforcement stance regarding immigration, again, and going into about the first quarter of 2020. Now, coming off of COVID, where we've got, our tourism sector is truly been decimated based on what we've discussed or what we've cited in other videos prior to this one. Obviously authorities here in Thailand want to get some revenue in, so the enforcement mechanisms may not be the priority. Another thing to bear in mind is biometrics have substantially, sort of increased the leverage with which immigration enforcement officers have in determining if someone's illegal. I hesitate to say it makes it easier, but it does allow it to happen in much more quickly. Immigration officers are actually pretty good about sussing out folks that may have had issues. They may have had criminal issues here in Thailand, but now that it's digitized, that enforcement function, it's almost sort of done before the issue ever even arises. It sort of comes up. With respect to evidence of air travel onward, generally a good idea to have that when you're dealing with a tourist situation. Although, again, that being said, it just at the present time, and I always hesitate to say it feels like that's not really a very precise way of talking or speaking, but to me it kind of feels like the overall paradigm right now is, hey, let's get tourists in. Let's not really worry too much at this particular time, about if they're moving onward or whatever. Now, that said, you can get an immigration officer that may have an issue with that. It's going to be circumstantially dependent, but for the moment, it seems like the paradigm is more interested in, bringing in as many tourists as we can get rather than worrying about ways to make them not come in.